Hey everybody, welcome to Santa Barbara Talks with Josh Molina. It is Tuesday, April 9th, and I want to talk to you about two things real quickly. Before we get going, can you please hit subscribe on YouTube? Help me build up my subscriber base and visit www.santabarbaratalks.com. Consider a contribution, check out more content. Okay, I want to talk about Roy Lee and the Santa Barbara Democratic Party and endorsements leading up to the November elections. Okay, I really want the party to have an open, transparent process for those individuals who are seeking endorsements. And I know that anybody who wants an interview can get an interview. I know that the website outlines a process. I understand that. But on the ground, in practice, there's some issues that need to be addressed. Let's think about this. Roy Lee shocked the world. He stunned everybody. He defeated Das Williams and is the new 1st District Santa Barbara County Supervisor. Roy Lee is a Democrat. Roy Lee is a Democrat. He's an immigrant from Taiwan. He grew up poor in Goleta. He worked in kitchens his entire life. His family eventually bought a business, and now he owns this business in Carpinteria, and he's on the Carpinteria City Council. Roy Lee is a Democrat. He's a real Democrat. Okay, regardless of what people want to say about him, he's a Democrat. He didn't get an endorsement. He didn't get an interview with the Democratic Party, and that's a problem. Now, Roy Lee did not seek the endorsement. The party did not say, hey, come in for an endorsement. It was a breakdown in communication that shouldn't happen. Why didn't Roy Lee do this? He didn't think he'd get it. He didn't feel welcome. He didn't feel as though, even though he's a Democrat, that he would get a fair shake from the Democratic activists in power. And that is a problem. The thing about this, which is like most disappointing, is that the Democratic Central Committee, there is a perception that some of them are cliquey, right? That they like their power and are condescending towards some people who aren't part of that group. So if you haven't made yourself be known to them by phone banking, by canvassing, by getting up at 5 in the morning to get the vote out on election day, or doing other things in the community that make you known in their circles, if you're not part of that group, it's really hard to get in. Okay, and that's a problem. Democrats should not be about exclusion. They should be about equity and fairness. The truth of the matter is that there are good Democrats all over this community who are not necessarily activists. They're just living their lives, they're doing what they do, and they're making the most of their situations. And if they're not in a situation where they're publicly out there or they have a demonstrated record of supporting other Democrats locally, that doesn't mean they're not real Democrats or that they're not good Democrats. That's a problem. Like that's just not fair. It's kind of mean, and it's privileged, it's condescending, and it's entitled to suggest that because you're not part of our team and how we grew up and how we came up through the party, that somehow you're not good enough. And whether you agree with me or not is irrelevant, because many people do. And perception is what matters. And so a guy like Roy Lee, who, by the way, his campaign manager, Wade Cooper, is a Democrat, but he's not exactly the most popular person among the Democratic Party leadership. A guy like Roy Lee doesn't feel welcome. That's a problem, because now he's the 1st District Supervisor elect. He doesn't have a relationship with the Democratic Party. Whose fault is that? Well, if you have an organization that exists to support Democratic candidates and policies, and somehow the other Democrat who's not part of the circle won, there needs to be some reevaluation into this process. Now, obviously, had Roy Lee come in for an interview, there's no chance they would have endorsed him over Das Williams. It's just, it wasn't going to happen. But you still need to talk to him. You still need to make him feel included. You still need to be transparent. And I guess the thing is, oh, Josh, are we supposed to go out and reach out to every Democrat who wants to run, even if they don't reach out to us? And I would say the answer to that is probably, especially if it's a seat that is as important as the third Democratic Party seat on the Board of Supervisors. Okay. But yeah, you probably need to, just as like a strategy thing. If you're into fantasy adventure games, it's like obvious, you have to get close to your enemy to understand what they're thinking. And Roy Lee isn't even an enemy. He's actually on your side. But if he's running against you, if he's challenging you, you need to know what's his views, what his policy. But the other thing that's really horrendous about this whole thing is just the complete dismissal of Roy Lee, the complete um, condescending attitude that there was no chance that he was going to win, that he was underestimated. And that's just like sad that the party leadership could so badly underestimate this guy instead of bringing him in and talking to him. And it's because it's all personal. Everything's like too personal. It's like we're friends with this guy, we're not friends with this guy. This guy's campaign manager's working for this guy, and like, oh, this guy did this thing in the past, and we remember this, and it's just like disgusting. Like you're elected to represent the party, okay, the Democratic Party, and the Central Committee, right? These are elected positions. You're not elected to like promote the people you spend personal time with. You're not elected to support and encourage these people who you're best friends with, right? That's not what your role is. Your role is to be clear-headed, objective, open-minded, and consider all these perspectives from all these candidates. Because unless you're in the know, unless you're part of the group, I have heard over and over as a reporter that they don't feel welcome. And there's a long list of people who have not interviewed who are Democrats because they didn't feel like they would get the endorsement. Kristen Sneddon did not get the Democratic Party's endorsement the first time she ran. And whatever, they went with somebody else. But Sneddon is undeniably a Democrat, a good Democrat, an environmentally progressive Democrat. They've endorsed her since then. But we have these examples where the party's not always right in their endorsement process. So instead of blaming fingers, why did Doss Williams lose? Whose fault is it? The best way to grow is to look in the mirror and evaluate what you can control. You can't control other people, but you can control what you do. And look at James Joyce's situation with the Santa Barbara mayor's race. Kathy Murillo lost. She came in third. James Joyce came in second. James Joyce did get an interview, but he wasn't endorsed. So somehow the party was out of sync with what voters wanted. And so a Democrat from the outside ran and essentially caused the mayor to lose. And now we have Randy Rouse as mayor. And why is that? Should the Democratic Party have just endorsed James Joyce if they're really caring about keeping Democratic power? Or did they stick with the incumbent just because that's what they had decided and they're pissed off and mad that James would run and disrupt the whole balance of power and cause Randy to win, which is what happened. But maybe instead of pointing the finger, maybe thinking, is there energy around this person? And should we have a conversation with the incumbent about maybe not running and taking a step back and running for something down the road? Instead, somehow, our powerful Democratic Central Committee, we've lost the mayor seat and lost the first district supervisor's seat to, largely because of Democrats. James Joyce is a Democrat, and also, Roy Lee is a Democrat. And so how does that happen? There needs to be more working together, inclusion, everybody feels welcome. Because if those lessons aren't learned from March 5th, from before that, what's next? Like, it's not going to fix itself. We're going to have people who are Democrats who are increasingly going to say, I don't need their support. I'm going to run anyway. I'm going to seek the support of the Dem women. I'm going to seek support of other community groups, and I'm still going to be a Democrat, and I'm still going to win. And that's the problem, right? That's like the worst case scenario if you're on the Democratic Central Committee. Instead, you should be inclusive and make everybody feel as though they're welcome and they have a fair shot at endorsement and a fair shot of an interview. And if they don't get it, at least they feel welcome and maybe they can get it next time. And so I just want the party to think about that and think about this Roy Lee situation. If the lessons learned from Roy Lee getting elected are people just ganged up on Doss Williams and this poor guy lost because of that, that's the wrong lesson. Okay. There's so many reasons why Doss Williams lost. Right? It is not any one reason, right? I mean, there could have been more party activism on his behalf. There could have been more canvassing. There could have been more phone calls. There could have been more money raised. There could have been more mail sent, right? If you're somebody who decided not to walk and knock on some doors for him because you thought Roy Lee couldn't win. I mean, you're part of the reason why he lost. And Doss is the biggest problem why he lost because he underestimated Roy Lee and he really ran afoul with a lot of people in the community at the wrong time. And it's really like if you're a Doss supporter, it's like a sad, sad situation. It never should have happened. And the party has an opportunity to learn from all of this and be better going forward. But let's just hope they learn those lessons and don't blame everybody else for what went wrong. Instead, think, how can we turn the page here and do things better in the future so that if we have a situation come up where we have good Democrats wanting to run, but they're running against our incumbents, how do we navigate that? And how do they feel included? And whoever gets the endorsement is almost irrelevant at that point, as long as everybody feels as though they have the same opportunity. So just think about that. And for the next 4 years, you have opportunity to meet with Roy Lee, make nice, and bring him in. And if he doesn't want to come in, well, then that's on him. But don't punish him because his campaign manager isn't liked by 3 powerful people on the Central Committee, right? Roy Lee is a Democrat and he deserves to be treated based on his own merits. And who cares, right? Who cares if he's got a campaign manager you don't like? Make up with him, talk to him, reach out to him. It's about power, preserving democratic power in the community. And when you fight, you lose it and everyone loses. And look at the situation that you're in now. Okay. So that's it. Last thing, please check out newshawk.com today. I have a story about the Glen Golf Club and this 800 to 1,000 units proposal they want to build over there across from Dos Pueblos High School. Big project, lots of controversy, concerns about traffic at Glen and Stork. Not a whole lot of infrastructure to support that many people, but we need housing. So it's like a thing for community conversation. And by the way, we need more low market rate housing. And this project, they're looking to partner with Santa Barbara Unified, Habitat for Humanity, South Coast, Santa Barbara South Coast Chamber of Commerce. And there's going to be a public pool, hiking trails, community center, childcare center, daycare. So there's lots of things to sweeten this deal. But this specific project's kind of getting lost in the whole rezone conversation. And so check it out, newshawk.com, story about it. And yeah, have a great day. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Take care.